Welcome back. The auto industry has been through a very difficult 2020.
And it's all been driven by financial changes and social distancing. But is there a light at the end of the tunnel for car buyers and sellers as we move into the end of the year? Joining us live via Zoom is our auto expert, Nik Miles. Good morning, Nick. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for joining us. So how are local and national sales right now as we're headed a little bit? Are we headed into the right direction, I guess, is my question.
Absolutely. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and we should be celebrating that, especially in Salt Lake in Utah. Trucks are still the flavor there, with the F-Series from Ford being the #1 seller. But some of the figures are actually even more than double the national average. 13% up in sales. That's September 2019 versus September 2020. That's for new vehicles. There's a little drop in the amount of luxury vehicles purchased. They're down 3.5%, but used cars are off the hook. 31% up 2019 September versus 2020 September. So that's huge for the local auto industry.
Ooh, that is huge. Okay, I don't think there's an industry that hasn't had to change or adapt because of the pandemic. So tell us, how are people shopping for cars these days, and how does social distancing play into all that?
Welcome to the digital age. That's the first thing. Car shopping's being done online or on your mobile device. A lot of people surfing their mobile devices for information about vehicles rather than heading to a dealership. In fact, 61.9% of people in a recent Harris poll saying that they expect it to stay that way even after the pandemic. So most people are looking online for the vehicle they want, getting pre-qualified for financing. And I recommend doing that with apps like Auto Navigator from Capital One. I've actually been promoting them, and I've used them myself because it's a great idea to be able to find the car without getting face-to-face with people and then get your financing. The last thing you do is head into a dealership and actually purchase it. And that's the way we're going. This was happening anyway, but what the pandemic has done is just really accelerated that. So people are only going to the dealership for the final test drive and transaction.
You know, based on what you said at the top of this interview, it sounds like almost like a frenzy. You know, and I remember, I don't know if you remember this, about a year or so ago, there was a frenzy at the big box membership stores, you know, where people saw people going out with wheat and they thought, I got to get more wheat now. Look, they're buying rice. Is that the same thing with cars right now? Is there an issue with inventory at this point?
I think there's a pent-up demand. So imagine that most of us, those people who are sort of sensitive to the pandemic and are at higher risk, have been definitely not going out, not doing the things that they would normally do. So we've all been, as a community, kind of staying at home and trying to do less of things like go out and purchase a car. There was this sort of pent-up demand. Then there was this whole period where factories were shut down and not making vehicles for up to 3 months. So this sort of, it's snowballing now. But here's the thing that's going to happen. We're about projected about 11 million sales in the United States for 2020. At the end of this year, that means we'll be about 6 million cars off of the mark because of the pandemic. So car companies are going to look at what inventory they have and start putting huge amounts of money on the hoods of vehicles that aren't selling. You're going to see probably the best discounts in history between now and the end of the year because they're trying to get back to pre-pandemic numbers.
Oh, okay, that's what I wanted to ask you, because usually when demand is high, the price is also. But you're saying we could get a great deal on a car, what, before 2021?
Yeah, so before the end of the fiscal sales year, which is usually the 2nd or 3rd of January, before then. Now, they may not be the models you want because these would be the vehicles that people haven't been buying so much, but vehicles are sitting on the lots that car companies have, and they want to stimulate you to get into a vehicle so they can show great sales figures before the end of the year. So on some vehicles, you're going to see absolutely massive discounts. I don't think that's going to be true for trucks, but it's definitely going to be true for sedans, station wagons, and maybe smaller SUVs.
You know, some of my favorite segments that we do with you is going to the auto shows and seeing all the new hotness. We haven't seen one of those in quite some time. So are there any announcements about new vehicles, and how do they get the word out?
It's digital. It's a digital world, period, and that's exactly how it's happening. They're all being done online. I'm lucky enough to get some of those vehicles delivered to my door. I still have been going out and test driving things like the new Land Rover Defender, which is just hitting the market in the US right now.
Yeah, we saw you with that yesterday. Yep.
Yeah, it's really hot, and there's some really hot vehicles. One of the ones that stimulates me the most right now is the new Jeep 4xe. It's their first plug-in hybrid Jeep. There's a new truck from Honda that they've announced digitally. There's even the new VW ID4, which is their first all-electric, battery-electric SUV. That's coming to market. There's some new Jaguars. The vehicles are still coming out. It takes 5 years from conception to actually producing a brand new vehicle. And that's a freight train. You can't stop that. And just because we have a pandemic, people still need to roll those vehicles out. So it's being done digitally. We're looking at maybe February, March before we see the first auto show coming back.
Nik Miles, lots of good information. Thanks so much. Good talking to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nick. Good to see you.
Thank you.